All right, so I actually am always just curious. How do you guys like the start of this book?
Mm.
That
It's
seemed like a sigh of like, I don't like it.
it's not that I don't like it. I'm reading it from an adult's perspective now versus an 11-year-old's perspective.
Hmm.
So it's and plus I've read it so many times too, so I have to try and remember what it was like reading it for the first time. And I don't know, having a child's perspective on it, I feel like it does need to be a little bit like reiterative about like explaining everything that
Yeah.
happened in the first book. And I feel like we've already touched on that several times before in like these first three books, how they kind of like go over the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, let's get to the meat of it.
Yeah.
But so those first couple chapters are kind of like that, you know.
I
Um,
like in the fourth one where it just skips that. It's like you know the story already. Let's just get into the actual story.
and it jumped into it, yeah,
Yeah.
hard. So it's not bad. It's necessary for the age group that
Yeah.
it's aimed at, I think. So I really am looking forward to actually reading these to my kids. I'm jealous that you're actually getting to do that already.
I know it's the best. It's like
Yeah.
my niece is
Yeah.
just starting to do it, and I cannot wait to like talk to her about the whole thing. It's
I'm
Okay.
so
waiting
fun.
for their attention spans to kind of catch up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Exactly.
I will have the illustrated editions too, so I feel like that's going to help.
It
So
it really does. Terry is right
Yes.
here. So
yeah,
we're on Goblet of Fire right now.
that's
And
cool.
they wanted to watch the movies again, so we kind of just finished Chamber of Secrets again. Even though we're reading Goblet of Fire and we're nowhere near finished with it. So we just finished Quidditch, the World Quidditch Cup. So
Mm,
we have a lot to go. But my wife and the kids are like, well, I want to watch it again. I'm like, all right, let's watch it again. So they just
yes.
finished Chamber of Secrets. So it's interesting seeing a child and the way they're thinking about the books and stuff. So
Love that.
it's fun.
I have to say too, I think the beginning of Chamber is maybe my least favorite out of all the books. I mean, specifically for everything that comes in chapter 2, which we'll talk about, but like when I reread this, it's just agony. Like Harry again, the first chapter, his worst birthday. Like Harry just coming to this dawning realization he has friends all of a sudden, and none of his friends are writing to him. None of his friends have reached out, and it's like, oh, it's agony. It stabs you in the heart. And then once you know what's going on, you're like, okay, it's a little bit better. But now I have Dobby in this book, and he's annoying so far, and I can't stand what he's doing.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I feel like too because like if you didn't already know that the Dursleys were just trash people, it's like it just hammers it home even further
Yeah.
in this first chapter. So it's just one more thing to kind of irritate you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like how can y'all just be just this just awful? I don't know. I think it's meant to irritate you,
Yeah.
make you really miss Hogwarts that much more, make you miss the Wizard World that much more. So
That's actually a great point. I've never really like thought about it that much, but like maybe she makes the Dursleys so agonizing so that you really look forward to getting away from them and getting to Hogwarts. It's like a good writing device.
yeah, like really makes you like kind of keep turning those pages.
Yeah.
You know, like oh, I want to get to the nice area, you know,
Yeah.
nice part of the story.
And again, I'm no Dursley sympathizer, but because my opinion in these books just sours even more. It's just like what you said from the previous. I can't stand them even more in this book because they almost become worse people in this one. They're like more annoying. They're more like revulsive toward Harry, and it really makes you look forward to when Harry's like actually gonna get out of this situation. But it's also frustrating because like Dobby is this this blockade from him getting all this stuff that is like he could have had an enduring summer. He could have had a decent summer, not a great summer. But it makes me mad at
Yeah,
Dobby.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, they scheduled this big meeting of theirs on his birthday, which is
Yeah.
kind of just messed up. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like who does that to a child? So
I know.
I never thought of it like they planned it just to make his birthday terrible. Maybe I always thought it was just like coincidental, but it would be something that they would probably
it
do.
would be coincidental, except for it's a Dursley. So it's like
Mm.
okay, they did it on purpose. So
Yeah.
yeah, it just sucks. So
That's actually a fascinating question. Do you guys feel like what the Dursleys do is accidental or purposeful?
yeah, purposeful. I think the parents at least, yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
If not, okay, if it's not completely on purpose, maybe it's subconsciously on purpose because they just, I feel like they just have like so much hatred towards, or it's not even hatred really. I feel like it's more just like fear, you know,
Yeah.
and it just comes out ugly. So
That's it.
like they just don't know what to do with him,
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
And I think too they kind of like treat him even worse right now because this is right after he comes back. And it's like he almost like he got one over on them because they were doing everything they possibly could to keep him out of the wizarding world. And so now he's back from his first year and they're just like, okay, well, you know, we're just gonna treat you even worse than we treated you before.
We're gonna make your life hell right now. It's interesting though, like again, I hate the Dursleys, but I remember I was listening a little bit to Harry Potter and the Sacred Text, and one of the first awards they gave was to Vernon Dursley for protecting the family in the very first book. And I was like, I don't know about that. But it made me rethink about them in a slightly different light where, like, Vernon, I hate him. He's probably my least favorite character in the entire series, other than maybe, like, Aunt Marge. I can't stand her. Like, terrible family, you know? Maybe, maybe what he's doing is just protecting his own family as best he knows how. I mean, he's terrible. Again, he's awful.
And his like narrow-minded,
yeah,
like completely prejudiced and like,
yep,
just yeah. I get what you're saying.
But it almost makes me feel like he's doing this stuff purposeful, like to like kind of what you guys were saying, like he's doing all this stuff to Harry so that he can suppress Harry in certain ways. But it comes across in the books as accidental, which makes him even more maniacal and like more insane, which makes me like him even less because I'm like, if he knows it's Harry's birthday and he's doing all this stuff purposefully, like part of me, maybe this is a really dark thing to say, but part of me thinks Vernon knows certain things about magic, and maybe he's heard of something called an obscurial, and maybe he's trying to suppress the magic in Harry so much so that Harry ends up like destroying himself. And Vernon is doing it so connivingly and so like purposefully, but he's playing it off as like an accident. Oh, like we scheduled something during your birthday. He doesn't even really mention that, doesn't care about it, but wants Harry to feel neglected, wants him to feel like silent
that's like
abuse.
Another layer of like evil that I didn't ever
right.
I feel like the Dursleys were never like necessarily evil. I just felt like they were just like narrow-minded and ignorant and I don't know, like they just fearful, not necessarily like evil, but I mean it's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
I just feel like that would totally backfire on him because from what we know of obscurials, they seem to have a explosive impact. I mean,
yeah.
Compared to what Harry already does, or like Mr. Weasley and the twins at their house as it is, obscurial Harry, I think, would definitely blow the whole roof off.
Yeah. Talk about the resentment coming out of that, like after everything that he's had to endure at their hands, like his whole childhood.
I mean, Surrey would be like
they're
destroyed.
Punishing him. They're punishing him for being happy. Like he goes off to Hogwarts and they know he's happy there, and they can't abide it. I don't know.
Yeah. Just like bitter about it.
Which, I mean, okay, I get that for Petunia. That makes sense. I even get that for Dudley. Because I feel like for both of them, there's maybe potential jealousy for them. But for Vernon, it seems like it's out of spite and out of like, let me deprive this kid of as much happiness as I possibly can. And like, what is his motivation for that? He just wants to make someone miserable? I don't think he has motivation. I think he's just like a genuinely terrible person. But it just, I'm like trying to find any excuse for his behavior, I guess.
I would love to hear like a psychologist.
Yeah, right.
Like,
seriously.
On him specifically. I mean,
that would be a great YouTube series. A psychologist goes through Harry Potter.
Just psychoanalyze him. Yeah. Seriously. I want to hear like what you professionally, like what your, opinion is. That would be very interesting.
Honestly.
That tells you something about how well she is at developing character, though. Yeah. The fact that you can take a fictitious character and even begin to psychoanalyze them shows the depth of the character that she's created,
And honestly, I think like Vernon, not that he's like a flat character, but he's one of the flatter characters that she's created. He's one of the ones that you're like, okay, I just get that guy. He's a terrible person. But the idea that we can like theorize about him and make him even worse and more terrible is fun. I think it's like a well-written character.
Maybe that says more about us than it does.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't know.
Let me find ways I can hate him more.
If he was like a good person and a wizard, like what house would he be in though?
Ooh.
like if he, let's say he was born into a wizarding family, because
Okay.
like you mentioning what the sacred text like gave him an award, like there are several instances where from his perspective, like he's like when the Weasleys are there and
Yeah.
he gets in front of Aunt Petunia,
Yeah, he
you know,
shows
like
bravery, yeah.
he puts himself like in there and he stands up for what he believes, even though he's absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Like, so I've like wondered that before. Like, if Vernon Dursley was just born into like a loving family and a wizard family and went to Hogwarts and like would he be like this great person? Because like we see with Dudley, like so much of it is how you're raised.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that just when I see him do stuff like that, I'm like, you're so awful. But he's kind of like a good husband. He supports Petunia.
Yeah.
He
yeah.
protects her. He like
they're always on the same page.
Yeah.
Like
100%. Like there's, you know,
I think a lot of us would really love a spouse that's that like on board with.
Honestly.
Yeah. 100%.
Even if you're completely nuts, like you said, you know, it's like, well, at least y'all are on the same page. They do have a happy marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would love more.
So
yeah, I would love more about like even how they met. I know we have tidbits of some of that kind of stuff. Like Petunia picked out this guy because he was the most boring, ordinary person. But I wonder how much he played into that of like being like, yeah, that cat is so cute. Just eating.
He won't leave me alone.
I'm
giving up. Done.
Oh my gosh. But I do wonder how much of Vernon is just being like seeing this woman being like, no, maybe you can make him sympathizing where he's like, I don't deserve this woman. She's like, you know, drop dead gorgeous, and I'm going to do everything that I can to support her and protect her and protect my family from this like horror that they experienced in their past.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point.
She looks like a horse, doesn't she?
yeah, for sure. But in Vernon's eyes, he's like, she's
exactly.
That's just my type. Horse-looking girls. Vernon is a horse girl in a totally different way. That's a fascinating question. I feel like he could be a Gryffindor. I mean, like the obvious one is Slytherin because he's kind of ambitious. He's like really hoping for his drill company, but I feel like he honestly could be a pretty good Gryffindor or even a Hufflepuff. Like his loyalty to his family is pretty phenomenal.
He just doesn't have the kind. I mean, if we're okay, if we're saying that he's like a good person, then yeah.
But he doesn't have goodness or kindness, so he can't be a Hufflepuff.
As it stands, let's just say Dursley just as he is. He was just, his character is exactly the same way. His personality is the exact same way. And he just happens to be a wizard instead of a muggle. I feel like he would definitely still, I don't know. I want to say Slytherin, but at the same time, I don't want to slur Slytherins with that either. So, because not all Slytherins are bad, you know?
I think he'd be the one that actually wouldn't even like go to school back. No, forget that. I'm gonna stay home.
He'd be homeschooled. The homeschooled was it?
He'd just be like, I opt out. I'm good.
No, I don't want to join.
Yeah.
So, can we talk about that drill company that he works for? Like, what kind of a drills? And I just bought one. Okay, I just bought one on the Home Depot that just opened in my house. That is going to be able to have you have a house in Majorca, you know, like
right.
That's ridiculous. Like
what is his job role? Like what exactly does he do? Like is he the COO or like is he like high up there in the corporate echelons or is like he just like a salesman? I feel like he's not that high.
He's the manager.
Yeah,
he's a manager. But it
sounds pretty high up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like, but again, even then, like you're not making so much money off of drills to be able to get a holiday house somewhere, you know?
I don't know.
Maybe we're thinking about this like this is a completely different economy too, in a different time period. I don't know. So, you know,
they look like industrial drills for like mining or something like that.
Could be that.
Like
what I just thought about in my head.
Or like dental drills or something like that. Maybe his client is a doctor or like, you know.
Now we're gonna go deep dive into like what types of drills are
there. Yeah.
Drill for the moon.
Yeah, right.
In the 90s.
Okay, I'll give him that one. Okay, if that's those big ones, okay, that makes sense. And I just laughed. I was like, man, that's a really expensive drill to whatever set to be.
It's so specific. Like if you're like making tool, like it'd be, you know, like Milwaukee or all those other companies that make like everything, you know. they make drills and screwdrivers and hammers, and like now they have like the same, you can use the same battery for like 17 different attachments.
Oh yeah, it's the best.
Thank good.
By and large, got it.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe Nat, you're our Brit. Maybe you can contradict us. But Majorca, is it a super nice place? I remember Becky once said it's like not the, it's a typical vacation spot for Brits. So maybe the house that they're getting, is just like a humble little abode somewhere. It's like
us going
really
to
stretching them thin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, I wouldn't say it's like rich people probably wouldn't go to Majorca, definitely not. But like middle, like the Dursleys are like middle class.
Yeah.
So you've got like Benidorm, which is a very cheap holiday destination. Lots of Brits go there. I've never been, but it's like very cheap.
Yeah.
And then Majorca is sort of like, I guess, the middle class version of that.
All right.
Okay.
It like perfectly fits in with them. Just very middle class,
Yeah.
suburban. He's doing well, but he's not like, he's not doing incredible for himself, I guess.
No, and it wouldn't surprise me if they like live slightly beyond their means. Because they very much care about their status in life.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's a really good point. You're right.
And so I think there's a lot of things where like they care about, it's very much like keeping up with the Joneses, like they care about
the car.
how others perceive them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I feel like, having a holiday home, it gives off a certain like status about you. And it could just be like a 1-bedroom apartment that they have, but they make it out to be they like big it up a bit to make it in conversation they sound more impressive.
It could be a shack out there, but he's telling everyone that he has a vacation home in Majorca. I put like a tent in the woods up in like, the Berkshires of Connecticut. I have a vacation home in the Berkshires.
Right. Yeah, like I got a cabin up there.
Yeah, exactly. It's super isolated. No one can get to it.
That's funny.
It's like a 2-room shack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He just took the hut from the Rock out to Majorca.
Yeah, exactly. That's their
go.
vacation home. That's actually interesting too. I'm kind of curious what house Petunia would be in if she actually was a witch, and what she would be sorted into when she got to Hogwarts. Like, Ginny was a clear Gryffindor, but was she a Gryffindor? She strikes me as a Ravenclaw for some reason. I don't know why.
I was thinking that was my first instinct.
Yeah.
Was Ravenclaw.
I don't know. I don't really know why, but I don't know.
Well, we don't really get to see a lot of herself, I would say, in the books. It's more of herself through her husband. It's whatever he's doing that she reacts to and stuff like that. So I wish there was more until you get to the very end when you start having the interactions with her and talking about her involvement with her sister when she was younger. So I think when as she grew up, I'm sure as she grew up, she got closer to being quieter with her, but she would have been. Yeah, okay. I don't know.
It's true, because you don't really see a lot of herself. Herself is wrapped up in being mom and wife.
Yeah.
That's her identity. We don't really see any other identity outside of that.
Yeah. But as a child, when it's just herself, when she went, I mean, you know what though? She did try to fight for herself to go there. She wrote the letter. So, she was like, I'm going to get to the school, but it just didn't work out. So.
And
I kind of feel bad for her. It's like, I feel bad for like kid Petunia.
Yeah, same.
Imagine being, imagine that being like, I grew up with a sibling, it was just me and my brother for the most part. And if he were to go and I didn't, because we're really close in age, and I'm assuming that they're fairly close in age, like imagine how that would have, like, why not me,
Honestly.
And as a kid, I think that's really hard to.
Yeah. Like the wizarding
Snape's
world.
kind of mean to her too.
Yeah,
He probably doesn't make it like, she probably looks at him in part as like part of what took Lily away, and he's awful.
Yeah.
What does she call him? That awful boy. It's like when I literally just finished book 7 last week. Like he makes the branch fall on her head, and like he's not nice to her. So
yeah, Snape is a real jerk.
Yeah.
And it makes me think too, I feel like the Ministry of Magic should have like a therapist dispatch department for kids who have, you know, normal, who are like witches and wizard kids who have muggle siblings.
Siblings.
Like, you know, the one person gets accepted into Hogwarts and then that person is dispatched to the house to talk through with the other sibling about like, you know, all the steps, because that's a kind of a traumatic thing. Like again, I feel like Petunia's backstory to me is one of the more interesting ones in the book because of what she dealt with as a kid. Like she really wanted to go to Hogwarts, and her jealousy of her sister, or her like anger and her how the reason that she became why she like a real jerk kind of was because I think of her raging jealousy. So I'm curious if Dumbledore dealt with that in a different way, if she would have been maybe like a more whole person. I mean, I'm not going to chalk it up to all. I can't really ever. I don't think anybody can really chalk it up to like outside sources as really the problem of her grumpiness, but because she didn't deal with that in a good way. But as a kid, how do you really deal with that in an appropriate way?
I feel like too, it wasn't even just jealousy. It was definitely jealousy there, but I feel like too, like she also, it was like a lot of loss.
Yeah.
She, you know, she probably loved her sister. They grew up together. And then to have her basically like go off on this whole different life and she can't go with her. She can't be a part of it, you know? And it's not like, you know, with schools now, like with public schools, you go to school, you come home. I mean, this is a boarding school. And I don't know. I mean, they still have boarding schools, obviously. I mean, it's not like something that they don't have anymore, but it's totally different, like dynamic. You're going to school and we're not going to see you for a few months.
Yeah, honestly. Like it makes me think too of like, I mean, I'm going to talk about like, you know, favorite and least favorite, but Filch is one of my least favorite characters in the book, but I'm curious if like maybe he had a sibling that was like a wizard or a witch, and like if they gave the chance for people who have like muggleborns or squibs, if they gave them the chance to like live in wizard society, but just to have like a normal job in wizard society, like I would do anything to go like, you know, be a help for Ollivander at his wand shop, even though I'm a muggle. I'm like, dude, sign me up.
Oh my God.
Dumbledore, I'll forego all school, just train me how to like, you know, give wands to wizards. I mean, you probably get like raging jealousy for all the witches and wizards that come in that you can't do any magic, but like help me acclimate to normal wizarding society, even though I'm a muggle.
Yeah. Same thing as like muggle parents who've got muggle-born children, you know, it's like Hermione's parents going to Diagon Alley, you know? So it's not like they're completely excluded from the magical world just because they're not magical. They have a magical child. And so I feel like the siblings should be somewhat involved in that too. And maybe it was different. I don't know. But I feel like there was definitely like resentment there. And definite like loss that was, you know, mixed in with that jealousy. Makes her a little bit more human.
Yep. And again, especially because all this, like, there's even this line in the first chapter where it says, Aunt Petunia knew he hadn't really done magic, but he still had to duck as she aimed a heavy blow at his head with a soapy frying pan. Like, she knows what magic is and what it isn't. She's like, at least has that wherewithal behind her. And she's like, it's like a trauma response. Anytime that comes out of Harry, she's like, I want to shut that out immediately. Like, let's
she needs therapy
that.
for sure.
Yeah, I know. She needs a few years of therapy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I hate Petunia, but I also love her. What else did you guys see in chapter 1? Anything else there besides Dudley wanting more bacon?
The homework. Who gave out homework for over the summer?
What, like, you didn't get homework over the summer?
Well, no, yes, I did, but not from a wizard school. You know, and on top of it, you're going to give us homework, but you can't do magic outside of school. Yeah. So what kind of homework did they get, you know?
Well, wasn't it just writing essays?
Mostly history of magic, right?
Yeah. Because I remember in the third book, it was all history of magic.
Yeah, he had to write some essays, yeah. But it's like, but you don't even get your books for whatever the next year is until like right before. Like I would get it if you gave the books like right at the beginning of the summer. Like, hey, here's your classes for next year. Now here, go read up. I mean, Hermione would have her stuff done the next weekend.
Probably one of the things where they're like, here, do this stuff so you don't forget all the stuff that we taught you last year, because that always happens. I remember that from when I was in school. You were gone for 2 months, you come back and you don't remember none of it. And you spend the first like few weeks basically just reviewing everything you learned the year before. So maybe they're just trying to cut down some time.
That actually happened in the game Hogwarts Legacy, because they're introducing a character that's coming in the 5th year. and you got to learn it. So how did they
Yeah.
do that? Which they did a good job putting it together. Like, let's just make everybody show us what you guys remember, and then they didn't do anything. They couldn't remember anything, and the teacher's like, okay, let's review, but it's really just for you because you're the character.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, okay, all right, just homework. I mean, come on, that sucks.
Isn't that like a part? I think Dumbledore mentions that line once when I think at the beginning or the end of the semester, he's like, "Oh, you have plenty of time to let all this stuff seep out of your brain," or something like that. I feel
Yeah.
like there's a line. I forgot what the line was or what book it was, but it's very true.
Okay.
But it always annoys me. I mean, this is third movie, but the third movie always annoys me because the very first thing that happens in this movie is Harry is going Lumos Maxima.
Yes.
And I'm like, come on, dude. You know how many howlers are being sent to his house right now?
Yeah.
I know.
But yeah, I remember because Danny just read this one too with Florian Fortescue, because that's in the third one as well. Because their summer homework is just writing essays on history of magic. It seems like they're not really doing much else. Maybe like some other theory. It's probably just all theory. You're not doing wand work. But it made me remember Florian Fortescue and how like Joe Rowling actually had more of like a plan for him to like put that guy more into the end. I think he was supposed to know about like a Horcrux or something.
Yeah,
like
he
that.
was gonna
Yeah.
have.
That's right.
Yeah,
Which
Like
is
I
kinda-
really would love to know what that was gonna be.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Like again,
Like that could be another thing that she posts on Pottermore.
Yeah, seriously. I know. Just kidding.
Imagine if she had like alternate endings that she wrote.
Right.
Kind of like, but we don't know about it until like years and years and years later.
I know.
Welcome to Harry Potter and Goosebumps.
Choose your own adventure, Harry Potter.
Not travel down that road. Crazy.
I just this is kind of in chapter 2, but I'm just like, I love the shout out to Mafalda Hopkirk in book 2. She's the improper use of magic office, and that's who Hermione
impersonates in 7.
Yeah.
No way. I forgot all about that. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, she was the one that. It is true.
I love how
it's always her. I think she signs everything that Harry gets from the ministry. And it's like really terrible stuff. And then hoping you're well.
Yeah, I know. I actually love how the movies do that with the Howler. She's like, hoping you're well, Mafalda Hopkirk. And it just like tears itself up. Like, that's really cute. She seems like a nice lady. Just kind of doing the job that she has to do.
I have to be sending you this notification.
Yeah, exactly. You guys have anything else in chapter 1 before we fully move on to chapter 2?
Good.
Oh, you're good. Go ahere
The green eyes. We get our first glimpse of Dobby.
Brilliantly green eyes.
Yeah. Get our first glimpse of Dobby, but we have no idea. It just says there's green eyes looking at him through the bush, and then all of a sudden,
the bush, the hedge was staring back,
and then it vanishes, and then move on to chapter 2, and then finally he's like, oh, there's those green eyes that are staring at me.
And right after that, and I'm gonna say this we're gonna do favorite lines. Like, what's your favorite line after? Cecilia made me remind everybody to pick your favorite line. She couldn't be here, but she made me remember.
She'll be here next, and we'll do our favorite
lines.
Like per chapter or overall.
Yeah,
per chapter.
That's how we're gonna end them. I totally forgot about that rule, but I'll throw that in the Discord every time we do this.
This kind of goes into that. This would be my favorite line because Harry's becoming a little bit more cheeky with Dudley. You know, and so he's basically, it was right after the whole hedge staring back though, and he was in Dudley was saying, I know what day it is, and Harry's like, oh, well done, so you finally learned the days of the week. I remember laughing so hard at that. I'm just like, that's such a sibling-ish kind of thing to say, you know, like you're just such a, like, I mean, for lack of a better word, you're just a smart ass to your brothers and sisters, where you know, and I mean, they do have a sibling like relationship, so
it's a great line.
Yeah, so that was my favorite line. Anyway, that's all I had.
I thought you were going to say my favorite line, which is right after the whole bush as well. And it's when he's talking to Dudley and he goes, jiggery pokery, hocus pocus, skiggly wiggly. Just down random words.
And he's just like,
yeah, I think season 2, you guys do that a lot with Avada Kedavra.
Yeah.
Abracadabra. She always says abracadabra.
Lizzie can't remember what it is.
Oh, poor Jen.
She's
She's like, whatever.
Yeah.
The abracadabra one.
I think mine is when Uncle Vernon. Do I look stupid? Snarled Uncle Vernon, a bit of fried ang dangling from his bushy mustache.
That's
Yeah,
such a
great
great
visual.
image. Yeah.
Just like wobbling, just
Yeah.
like
Yes, you can just see it.
And honestly, it's those kind of lines annoy me because the movies could have put that in there and it could have been such good comedic relief.
Yeah.
Like this guy's
And
just got a bit of like, you know, fried egg dangling from his mustache and he turns around all of a sudden, whips himself around and he's just like this annoying thing.
those readers that are like really into details, they're
Yeah.
like, that's from the book.
Yeah. That is directly in the book. I could put that as another video for one of the biggest changes that's ever happened in the second book.
They need to do that in the show
fried
now.
egg. I know, seriously.
Mhm.
Yeah. Honestly, I love this line because Dudley goes, "I want more bacon. There's more in the frying pan, sweetum," said Aunt Petunia, turning misty eyes on her massive son. Like, what is that about? Why is she going all misty eye on her massive son there?
Because right after that, she goes, "We must feed you up while we've got the
Yeah.
chance." Like it's just like she's like, "My poor baby is not getting enough food at this school," and
Yeah.
it's like funny. The irony of it is like she's turning her misty eyes on her massive son. You know, like he's obviously getting enough.
Yeah.
Later on, comes back with a note down the road saying, "Yeah, you're on a diet."
Yeah.
From the school nurse.
Yep.
Oh, that's yeah. And that book. That's book 3, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's book 3 because then
Yeah.
all his friends are sending him, you know, sweets and goodies. That's great.
So
All right, you guys want to move on to chapter 2?
Do it.